Okay, so we're on.
We are on. Hi, how you doing?
Good.
Good, good.
Have
So,
my yogi tea.
what's the quote? Because Yogi Tea
Oh,
always has a
yes. Oh my God, let's see. Everlasting impact with compassion and kindness is called love.
that's beautiful.
Everlasting impact with compassion and kindness is called love. It sounds so simple, right?
It does.
It sounds,
Everlasting. Yeah, I'm gonna write this down. Now, I've had this idea for a while.
yeah.
Let me explain to you. I'm sure you've seen comedians in cars drinking coffee. Like
No.
Jerry Seinfeld.
No.
If you haven't seen it, it's actually really good. It's very funny. So Jerry Seinfeld loves cars. I
Yeah.
guess he loves coffee and he loves comedians. And so what he decided to do was to have like these really nice cars. He picks up like a comedian and they go for coffee and then they have like a chat. And it's like 10, 15 minutes, sometimes 20 minutes, depending upon, how things go, right? And I always thought, it would be so cool to talk to another therapist on the train. That was the idea, right? To have like a selfie stick in a train. Yeah, on the train. And then have like some tea. Obviously, is that because they're both comedians, there's similarities, there's a foundation of understanding that they know about each other and about the work. But also, too, they're different, right? Different styles of, like
Right, yeah.
comedian and whatever, and how they got started. And so, he doesn't have like a set questions or anything like that. He kind of just lets the conversation go with the flow. And that's kind of what I was thinking about doing. Cause I feel like one of the biggest issues, I don't know if you encounter this, but I encounter this, is that when people find out you're a therapist, what's their reaction when you tell them? Let's see if it's similar.
It depends on who the person is, because at a dinner, you're happy to meet someone there, or you're at a party somewhere, a gathering, get together, whatever. They usually confuse it. Well, my experience has been they confuse it with, oh, so you do like physical therapy? One, or they'll say,
Right.
they don't know what I mean, or they'll say, what's the other one? They'll know what it is and they'll go, oh, that setting. Now, when it's like, let's say you're going on a date or you're trying to meet someone, it's usually silence, or I don't know if they get intimidated and then it's like they start taking steps back. Which I've kind of had this back and forth issue with some of my friends about, like, well, why can't I say I'm a therapist or a psychotherapist? Because if I say I'm a social worker, it's even more like they don't have any clue what it is, other than maybe you're stealing kids or taking kids away from their home.
Well, right.
So if I say that, it's like, so why is it okay to say, oh, I'm a lawyer, I'm an accountant, you know, like, why is that fine? And it's not okay to say I'm a therapist or a psychotherapist, because this is what we do, right? Currently. So that's
Right.
perhaps another trip on the, maybe that would probably be on the A line. Is this the S line, or is this the 7 line, or um let's pick the 1 line, because I think it's like it's easy for me to get to. It's right close to where you are. So
Actually, interestingly enough, that train will also take us to our old job that we both worked at, and that's how we met.
which I no longer have any anxiety over.
Oh, good. The PTSD is gone from that job.
Yeah, every time I went by to visit, whenever I heard the bells from the church, my stomach would start like churning and stuff. And I was
Uh-huh.
anxiety because every time when I was always late. I had to run to punch in, because you knew when it was the bells going on, the 9 o'clock it was already 9 o'clock. So
Right. Well, and so just so y'all know, we had to punch in with our hands and be there at 9. And if you were late, what would happen? We would get in trouble. Well, we would get.
you get a verbal warning, a verbal, the whole verbal, written, final, and then termination. 1 minute is too late.
Right. There wasn't a lot of leeway at
No.
that job in many ways.
So,
Right.
and
And
I'm
so
actually very grateful that I had that experience, and for many reasons. Obviously, I met you, one,
yeah.
and two, because it pushed me to get into my private practice, and I said, "Oh hell no, I can't. No way. I'm out of here."
Right. Yeah. And you know what? It's funny because sometimes you need that, right? Like I always talk, to a lot of the people that I work with, like whatever jobs that they're at and they're working at, they're like, if they're struggling, it's like, all this leads to the next like right thing and the right step. And so being able to, appreciate that, well, maybe not so much while you're there, but definitely afterwards.
Yeah. So we are on the one line.
We're on the one line, going back on memory lane.
Yes, and we found the seat. Because standing on the one line during rush hour. Ugh.
Oh my God, I can't. Yeah. But just to get back to the question, I was like, I get the second part most of the time when I tell people what I do, and it's mostly where it's like kind of a slow backing away, or it could be like, oh wow, that's interesting. So then you can read my mind. So then people get confused and think like I'm a psychic, and I'm like, no. And then they watch a lot of what they say.
Yes,
oftentimes.
yes, they say, oh, and then they say, well, oh, and this pisses me off. They say, oh, well, well, what diagnosis do I have? And I go, first of all, you're not paying me to diagnose you.
Oh, Omar. Yeah, I can totally see you doing that. Whereas for me,
and I say it, you don't have no filter.
I know you don't. That's why you're my first guest, because I knew that to just set the stage. Because what I usually do is like I will like kind of laugh it off, and I'll just say, oh my God, I'm not working right now, my brain's off, or something like that, and kind of. But I honestly think people are they're just so interested in understanding themselves, and I think that's like the biggest question that we all struggle with for our whole life, basically. And so when we meet somebody who is a therapist and who we think could potentially give us some understanding about us in some way, they take that as an opportunity. So
I wonder if they do the same with other professionals, though. If they meet a tax accountant, an accountant rather, will they say, well, how much money am I going to get back?
You know what? That's a great question. We should ask a tax account. Actually, I can ask one of my friends and see. But I do know.
Yeah.
I know a physical therapist, and we had a similar conversation. And it's funny because she said the same thing. She said that people will start saying, "Oh, I got this shoulder thing," or for a doctor. Sometimes that I imagine that happens.
Oh yeah. I've been dealing with this cough for the last.
2 weeks and a fever.
Oh my God.
Right, exactly. So, and I mean, look, that's nothing to joke about, but actually, this was also the reason why I started doing this, because I realized that I was just so serious over the last month and a half. Mm-hmm. I don't know about you. How have you been dealing with all of this with COVID and stuff? And
what do you mean by serious?
Well, I guess I was, in my feelings. I was feeling angry, particularly in the beginning, and frustrated, because, I didn't want to have to be in lockdown. I just felt I almost felt like my freedom was being taken away. And then, and that's the emotional response, right? And then rationally, I'm like, okay, look, girl, calm down. That's not what's happening. This is all. And then, as things came in and settled, just the sadness and the grief about what was actually happening, and how the numbers were increasing and getting worse, and it made more, obviously, much more emotional sense. And so then that turned into kind of sadness. Then, some other feelings, and kind of now it's this is the new normal, and, just continuing to process the feelings as they come up and down.
Right.
But what I really realized, because I did something on joy, the last Mental Health Wellness Wednesday on joy, and I started adding playful as a value, because I didn't feel like I was being as playful in my life. I wasn't laughing as much. I was taking things a lot more seriously, and that's not necessarily my personality. So I felt like, okay, I need to do something that's just like gonna be out of the box and help me to just
stay with you. I think it's like, oh wait, hold on, what's going on here?
yeah, it's it was such a strange.
Well,
So how about you?
Yeah, with me, so when did this, I don't even know what, I'm looking at my calendar. Okay, May. So, I know,
Yeah.
like, I have to do that a lot. It's like, I don't know what day it is. Sometimes I wake up like, wait, do I have sessions today? Oh, no, it's Sunday. Okay.
The days are running in. I know.
So when this whole thing, like with the COVID quarantine, I would say the first 3 weeks, I was pretty anxious, mainly for, the business, because I wasn't sure how to go up. I mean, everything came just so quick. It was like
Yeah.
the week before Friday, I was still in the office. And then after that weekend and that Sunday, I believe it was whatever that Sunday was, March 17th or the 18th or something.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, oh, everybody after this point has to be quarantined. So
Right.
that was overwhelming and anxiety provoking. So much so that I started developing this like pain starting from here on the base of the neck all the way to pretty much the middle part of my back. And for like 3 weeks. And I bought this roller things. I like after every session, I would just like roll myself back and forth. And that was, it alleviated the pain, but still it was constant.
Mm-hmm.
And then with clients, some of them wanted to do the online sessions. Most of them did. Some of them did not. So, which I can respect. So I check in with them and here and there.
Mm-hmm.
And after the 3 weeks, so after like kind of like that whole anxiety, plus the whole news of like, people are, dying, getting sick, getting
Right.
exposed, what was happening in Elmhurst Hospital, because I live, 8 blocks away from there.
Yeah.
Very close to that. I'm very familiar with the area. I mean, I grew up in the area since I was 6, so I can imagine. I know like that whole line and people that, till this day, I have not gone anywhere near over there. Just I have no business going there, thankfully.
Mm-hmm.
But I can only imagine. So all of that going on, and then making sure that my parents were okay, and managing their anxiety and their stress levels, and my own. So it was
Mm-hmm.
basically just work, and then go to bed, wake up, eat, shower, get on the computer, work, and do the same thing over and over again. Because in a way, it was kind of that. Well, that wasn't what I was doing, because I would go to work, but sometimes in between, maybe I'd go to the gym, I'll take a yoga class, or after work, I'll go to the gym, do a yoga class, meet up with some friends, go to a restaurant. So there was other activities that I was doing. So now it was just home. But what's interesting with that is that because I was so active out there, I didn't really get a chance, an opportunity to be in my own space, in my own home. It was just
Mm-hmm.
a place to sleep. And then,
Right.
so now that I've been here for the last, what is it, March, April, May, close to 2 months now,
Mm-hmm.
I've appreciated my space. And during that time, I kind of had a lot of silent moments. For me, that was more like silence. Yes, I would stay in touch with my friends, but it wasn't something that I was like, oh, I have to go see them. I need to be there. I need to be with them. No, it was more of, okay, I know I heard from them, but I just want to be in the silence with myself, because there were a lot of ideas that were coming up for me, a lot of thoughts,
Mm-hmm.
but nothing really that was like, oh my God, it's like anxiety provoking, but more so like, where is this taking me? Where am I heading now? Now I'm learning to appreciate my space. I even bought some potted plants, and I put some wall
Nice.
boxes up. I cleaned up. I threw stuff out. I bought some new stuff. I even bought this in my background. So
Nice.
my little separation of my tiny mini tiny little office.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so I came to appreciate my own room, my own space, my own, this is where I am, man, and it's okay. Reading up on some books that I have right here that I'm like, well, I left off in chapter 2. Let me get back to them now.
So you've been able to do that? That's been very hard for me. I just started a new book because I had not been able to even finish like the last chapter of an old book.
Yeah.
It took about, I would say, about 6 weeks from, oh, maybe that's an exaggeration, like 5 weeks to finish like one last chapter.
Yeah.
I just couldn't do it. Couldn't get myself down and like concentrate.
Right. And I know that it's obviously going to be different for many people depending on who they're with and all of that. But yeah, that's been my experience. It's more about just being very quiet. I mean, I can be a quiet individual also, but I think this time it was more, what are the messages that are coming up for me? What is it saying? Where do I need to head? A lot of creativity, a lot of things to think about, even with the business, what's going to happen once we get out of quarantine. And even that has changed back. Maybe I was thinking that like, end of March, beginning of April. But even that has changed. It's like, well, we don't know when we're going to get out of this. So is this going to be it until the end of the year or not? And how do I want to see that change and transform? Perhaps the things that I was already thinking of doing and implementing, well, now this is like, well, boom, you're in it.
Right.
Now you have it. So go. So, for me, it hasn't been, yeah, I think it's been a lot of mixed feelings and emotions, but it really hasn't been all of it at once. Maybe in the first 3 weeks, it was, like, oh my goodness, but it was like, okay,
Well, it sounds like, I mean, there's been like a connection with not just like yourself and your deeper self of things that are like kind of coming up, but also like your space, which is so interesting because I'm noticing the same thing too. Is like, connecting with the space that you have, and how do you have that? How do you have your environment? That whole environmental wellness piece.
Yeah.
But when you're out going to the gym, hanging out with friends, going to your office, like you come back home, you just go to sleep. You don't really you're not really as much paying as much attention to it, as at least I didn't. So I can imagine that that's for a lot of people too. Probably resonates with a lot of people. So what, huh?
I'm always out and about. Like some of my friends have said to me, it's like, oh my God, you're never home. You're never home. Like every time.
That's right. You were always like at a convention, and you were always like, oh, I'm in Mexico right now.
I'm in Mexico. I'm in LA. I'm in Chicago. I'm in Florida. I'm in whatever. And yeah.
Right. I know. Me and Michelle would be like, does he even work? I mean, really?
I know. But people always say the same thing, and it's like, and people that I haven't even seen, like I've come across them when we were going out and stuff. We would go and they, hey, how's it going? Oh my God, hi. And then like, wow, like, so when have you been back? Like, I mean, what do you mean? Oh, you must have been somewhere, obviously. I'm like, no.
Yeah. So there's a disconnection between you and your environment. And now that's like, it's all about your environment now. So what have you noticed? Oh, did you want to say something?
Go ahead.
Oh, so what have you noticed about some commonalities that some of the people that you're working with are struggling with, or that are coming up for them? Is it similar for what you were just talking about for yourself, or have you noticed anything different? Because, for example, like last week when I did the Mental Health Wellness Wednesday, what was coming up was a lot of people who were like happy with everything, not happy about with everything that's going on. Nobody's really happy, but feeling kind of content staying in their home and being at peace with their environment, felt feelings of guilt about that. And so that was like a big theme over the last like week or so.
With friends and family, it just varies. At least the majority of my friends have mentioned that, a lot of the things that we talked about here, but they're coping. They're dealing with
Yeah.
it in a way where it's, as healthy can be. Um,
Mm-hmm.
there are others, though, that, I have some friends who have been drinking a lot more, almost like every day. And I'm like, well, you should probably consider cutting back. You can do other things. I mean, I'm not, I mean, a drink, I understand, but just to have it all the time, there's obviously something else. So I think sometimes these individuals become lost in, this is what I've been used to, and I'm not doing that anymore. For example, work, because they're not working anymore. What else can I do? There's so much more we can do. There's so
Mm-hmm.
much more. But we get stuck in that, well, I don't know how, I don't know what, or sometimes even I don't want to. So I've seen that with, friends and family. With clients, it's also been something similar too. You have clients who are constantly just anxious about getting something, not going out, um, getting infected, and then they're in their home, and there's a lot of more anxiety there because they're worried about the neighbors, and then they're watching the news, which I tell them all the time: stop watching the news. I mean, if you have to watch the news, stick to one channel. You know,
Mm-hmm.
if it's Univision or Telemundo, or if it's NBC, ABC, or whatever, then just stick to one, and then don't watch it all the time. Watching it all the time is like, that's not good, because it's just going to increase your anxiety. So, but then at the same time, I have those clients who I think this whole situation has really pushed them into changing their perspective, changing the way they see themselves, changing the way that they see family, changing their perspective on how they see their jobs, whether they're unemployed or currently employed. And so there's been a lot of shifts. And I've been saying, from the beginning of the year, actually, before all of this is happening, they were saying that this is the year where there was going to be a lot of change, a lot of shifts, dramatic changes. Well, they weren't kidding, right? So
They certainly were not.
they were not, but change to
Who? Wait. Who is they? Who's they?
people who talk about in terms of energy workers, healers.
So people spiritual, like kind
Yeah,
of like a higher level consciousness or
yeah,
whatever.
yeah.
However you. Okay.
Felt that this is the year that there was going to be some changes, and well, definitely there has been. So I've been putting people in two categories. The first category is those individuals who, with everything that has happened and is going on, that they're thinking about the next steps for themselves. Where do I want to see myself? Do I still want to maintain and continue in this relationship? A lot of people are in relationships that they probably felt like they wanted to get out of for a long time. And now they're definitely now really sure about, yes, I don't want to be here. I mean, I gave it my 2, 5, 10, 15, 20, 30 years. And this is the time now where I have to leave. I have to break this off. Their jobs, a lot of people have been unemployed. Some of them have been treated horribly by the employers, dedicating 15, 20 years of loyalty for them to just be thrown out, or not really taken care of, not giving them like a severance or whatever it is that they felt that they deserved, that they needed, they didn't get. And now it's making them think, why am I continuing to stay in this job? Maybe they were furloughed, and
Mm-hmm.
the way that they have, almost feels like I've been betrayed. And so I don't have to be here anymore. I can do other stuff. I can go back to school. Maybe I can do something else. Maybe I thought about opening a business, whatever. So, and then et cetera, et cetera. So just a lot of just changes, different shifts in perspectives, and making the decision that this is what I want, and this is what I'm going to do, and this is how it's going to start happening. And then you have the other category of individuals where they're going to be stuck in the same shit over and over again. That's the same cycle. Oh, I've been needing to break up with this person. Well, you've been saying that for the last 15 years. When I see it happen, then I'll believe it. And then they stay there, right? Everyone across the board moving in that direction or just staying stuck.
Mm-hmm.
That was a long-winded answer, but
well, no, but I have to. I think that I've seen something very similar. I think that people, like you said, whether they're using like alcohol or drugs or just like soothe how they're feeling, because really doing that to feel better, and then that like can induce or keep you into like a pattern of being or a way of being where you're in a pattern of being stuck and doing the same thing over and over again. Or you have like another part. I mean, I think it's like a mixed bag. Another part where another aspect of challenges that people are looking at themselves and trying to figure out whether or not is this how they want to live their lives, which is actually a lot of the work that we end up doing anyways with people, is like trying to figure out what is it they want their lives to look like. And, are you able to, build awareness and recognize some things that you can shift and change? And I think that like a lot of people have been struggling with that because they're such a, kind of stuck in a paradigm of if the world doesn't feel like normal now, so we can't kind of change. But in actuality, because the world is not quite normal anyways, just like in and of itself, we can make our reality a little bit different and start to get to know ourselves a little bit deeper. And that's exactly what sounds like you've been doing anyways, with your space and with yourself and connecting with yourself, because now we don't have as many like distractions, right?
Well, yes, exactly. There's not so many distractions, like I was distracted, but at the same time, I enjoyed what I was doing. Like I said earlier, I didn't spend so much time at home, but, wherever I was, I knew that I was doing something that I wanted to be with, or do,
Mm-hmm.
Whether it was at the gym, whether it was taking a class, whether it was at a workshop, whether it was with, spending time with you, with some of, but definitely, yes, I like what you said about this, not having the distractions also. So as much as you want to, it's like, well, nope, stay home.
Right.
Just
right. And not only stay home, but be with yourself. I mean,
silence is very loud. Remember that silence is very loud for many. We can't. Sometimes people cannot stay still and be silent with themselves. They have to be active. They have to be distracted. But the other thing is we have to think about and realize, what is it that we're trying to avoid? What is it that we're trying not to go to? What is it that we don't want to realize? What is it that we don't want to address? Because we keep ourselves so active. Oh, let me do everything and every single thing.
Yeah.
So silence is very loud. So now that there's silence, then it's like, oh my goodness, like all of this is coming up. Well, you know what? Wherever you go, there you are. It's going to come up sooner or later. So maybe this is the time. And I think this is what's happening because we're home thinking about it's either going to say, oh shit, yeah, I got to get the hell out of here, or consumed in your own thoughts and anxiety. And a lot of this is governed by fear. And I personal experience, because I know that fear governed a lot of aspects of my life, opening my business and saying, oh my God, I can't do this. Oh my God, what if I don't succeed? Oh my God, what? And then,
pandemic.
Huh?
What if there's, oh my God, what if there's a pandemic? What am I going to do? Am I going to stay
I wasn't even thinking about that. I mean,
of course,
where am I going to plot myself? Where am I going to get the clients? It's like the lies that we say to ourselves, these are all lies, negative thoughts. Just, we got to balance them out. What if I am successful? What if it all goes well? What if I do get a lot of clients? What if I am able to find a spot and that's convenient for me? But a lot of this is governed by fear, and the fear of also a lot of people don't want to be left alone, especially in relationships. It's like, well, what am I going to do? What do you mean? What are you going to do? You're going to be fine. I mean, obviously I can't guarantee that, but you have to do the work. I can never say that you'll be fine, but you have to do the work.
By the way, that's Omar's favorite line.
Oh yes, you'll be fine.
You'll be fine.
I mean, jokingly, yes. I mean,
But
in a
it's true though.
at work though, I won't say to a client like, you'll be fine, because I can't guarantee that, because then they can come back and say, you told me I was going to be fine and I wasn't. So, but I just kind of like, I guess my own dark sense of humor. Like I'll tell people like in Victoria, you've heard me. Oh, you'll be fine.
Yeah.
Oh my
That's what
goodness,
I feel.
fine.
He'd sit there crying on Omar's shoulder as his friend, and then, sorry, you'll be fine.
You'll be fine.
Thanks so much.
And aren't you fine?
Yes, I am fine. I continue to be fine, and we'll be fine, no matter what happens.
We go through our troubles and whatnot. I mean, we're human. We're going to have our emotions and thoughts and whatnot. I mean, these are things that, ladies and gentlemen, it's called life, right?
Yeah.
And so, yeah.
And I think you're right. And I think, one of the things I think that has come out of this too is this ability to now, if you're talking to your friend is much more likely to be more vulnerable and to be more open about what they're going through, as opposed to before when they're, oh, I'm fine. We're fine. No one's really fine. I mean, there's something going on. If it's not with you, or it's outwardly and having feelings about that, or, struggling with family who can potentially be having feelings, or, whatever is going on. So I think that's been benefit.
I'm always wary of the person who always says to me that they're fine. Especially, I mean, it's like, you have people that and then you have your friends, and then you have maybe like your intimate friends, and, people that I've come across that I know, and I'll ask. And this is one thing that I hope you know, that if I ask, how are you, is because I genuinely want to know how you are doing. How are you doing? I will never say, how are you, just as a salutation, because that's what it's based on, a salutation. Hi, how are you? Anyway.
So one thing that I wanted to talk to you about, because I know that, a lot of times people have misconceptions about therapy and therapists and all whatever. And I always try to explain that, every therapist is different. And obviously we know the most important aspect of therapy is not necessarily the modality. It's really the relationship that you develop with the therapist, and having a trusting relationship is really important. But I always like to talk to other therapists about things that they're doing, modalities that they like, because we all kind of veer towards something that we like and kind of believe in, that resonates with us. So I just wanted to see, what is it that you like?
That I'm an eclectic practitioner, meaning that I kind of, go with what I feel that the client may need. Clients are a little bit more on the logical aspect, and they work better that way. Some of them they use more of their emotional part, more so than the logical part. So we'll work on that. So to try to have a balance, because I think both of them are important. I come across some individuals who they're thinking their way out of the situation, but then they're not taking into account their emotions. So I especially try to be mindful to have them bring sense of awareness, especially with where they're feeling these feelings in their body. What is it that they're feeling exactly? And, we have to break it down. And where exactly in their body are they feeling it? So that way, when they come up with these feelings, they know what triggered it. They know what it's like, and that's exactly what it is. Oh, I'm angry. And I know that I'm angry because I feel like my fists are clenching, and I punch somebody or hit something. So a lot of awareness, body awareness. But I've also fallen into the working with on the energy aspect, so I use emotional freedom technique, tapping. So that does a lot of work energetically. I use my essential oils. That's, I combine that with my work personally and professionally. So I'm always carrying them around. Here's my keychain. So instead of carrying the big bottles, I just carry the little bottles in here.
Oh my gosh, that's on your keychain.
Yeah.
Amazing.
So,
actually, you shared something, because I recently did a meditation and an essential oils thing, I think a couple of weeks ago, and you shared something about essential oils in terms of the olfactory. So can you share that with with everybody, and why like essential oils actually help?
So essential oils, aromatically, and the olfactory nerve right here,
Mm-hmm.
drop, or we smell it directly from the bottle. Then it goes directly into this part of of the brain, and then that is what sends all the signals into the body for whatever it is, and it's going to help you with. So let's say, for example, it's lavender. So you smell some lavender, it goes, and it's like, oh, the brain is saying you got to calm yourself now, central nervous system, calm, and start calming.
Mm-hmm.
Does that. So I integrate that, and I also do Reiki, so that's also on the energetic aspect for those individuals who already know about it or want to have a Reiki treatment. They've heard about it, they've experienced somewhere else, and they know that I do that, and they're open to that, so I provide that for them. So again, it depends on what the client is coming with, what the client is comfortable with. I'll do cognitive behavioral therapy. We'll talk about how the past influences their present, psychodynamic, or a little bit of everything. So I always say not one size fits all. I'll gently say to the client, if you're going to come here, you're going to come here to work. What does that mean? That means that I'm not going to work harder than you. We're going to work together. I'll guide you, but know that we're going to dig deep into exactly what it is that's going on here. Everything has an origin. Things don't just come about just to come about, you know? Even if it's something like a traumatic experience, it was because of that traumatic experience. It just didn't just, magically just show up. No, there always has to be something. So that's part of the building of the awareness, right? What
Mm-hmm.
exactly is it? Why do I continue getting myself in these types of relationships or doing the same type of behavior? Why is it that I'm still sad over the breakup, even though we broke up 5 years ago? Blah, blah, blah. So there's always a reason. So let's explore those reasons. We're gonna dig deep. We're gonna, layer it all as much as we can so you can understand it and you can move forward. So either sometimes people stay and continue on their journey and work, or they just don't come back.
Or they just don't come back.
No.
I appreciate like all the work that you're doing and how you do it, because basically what you're saying is that you connect a lot of the feelings and the emotions to the physical body and the sensations that come up, the olfactory system. So so they've done lots of research about like lavender and how that,
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I don't know particularly, but it's releasing something in our brains and neurotransmitters that's coming down the nervous system. And the same thing with energy, with Reiki, with the EFT, which is the emotional freedom technique that you were talking about, the tapping. It's all moving something that we might not necessarily be so tangible, but because or you can, and the patient knows and feels it, the difference between before and after, that there is a connection in like recognizing where it might be coming from. So like the trauma or like the grief or the loss of a breakup or something like that. And then having those feelings like move through your body. And I think, more and more that's kind of, like research is confirming all of that. So
Yeah. So that's why I said, I'm an eclectic practitioner, just kind of throwing, a little bit of everything, depending on what they're looking for. Sometimes people just want only to know about natural solutions. I'll talk to them about essential oils, and that's all they're interested in. Nothing in terms of like therapy or figuring out certain things, I mean, that's there. They want it, not educational.
mhm.
As far as what oils can help you with, or if there is something that they want to deal with, guilt, anger towards someone, okay, let's work on that if that's what you want. If that is not what you want, then that's fine. I'm no one to tell you that you should, but
Right.
know that, again, I'm not going to work harder than you are.
Yeah. And that I think is probably oftentimes I feel like the saddest is that like, we don't teach people emotional language as children to be able to express how they feel and what they actually want and so speaking of types of clients that you'd want to see, I've been thinking about this because obviously I have a lot of spare time. Who would
That
be
one line.
who would be a celebrity that you would want to treat?
Oh my God. Wait, hold on. That's tough because it can't, my kind of transference first has to be in check. That's a tough one, Victoria.
You can't think of anybody?
Because I'm thinking like, okay, what if I picked Angelina Jolie and I won't be able to stop looking at her lips?
Well, since I've been okay, well, you can think about it. I'm
Yeah.
gonna tell you mine because I've been thinking about this a lot.
Okay, maybe it'll
Probably
prompt me.
because, huh?
Maybe it will prompt me to think about someone specifically.
Well, so probably because since this whole quarantine, I've been listening to music more, and obviously, I've been listening to Drake and some of his old songs, but his new album or whatever. And I always think of, wow, he seems like, now obviously this is like persona, so like he seems like he's a really like a nice person, but it seems like he has issues with women. And I would really like to help him through that. I would really like him to find a nice young lady that he could have a secure attachment and relationship with and connect to her and maybe have a family. I mean, I think he already has like a child or something, and maybe he already does. I don't know. But just from listening to his music and listening to some of the things that he says and how he says it and what he says and the commonalities of it, I'm like, he would be a really great person to treat, partly because I really do love to treat men anyways, in terms of, attachment and connections with women, because I really feel like you guys are, it's just tougher. It's tougher to be connected to how you feel. It's tougher to develop secure attachments with other people at times. And so anyways, I think ideally, like, he'd be the celebrity that I would want to treat.
Well, now that you're saying it, I mean, they're not around anymore, but I think that if given the opportunity and seeing exactly what it was exactly that the reasons what he was doing what he was doing, Heath Ledger.
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah, that was so
Fantastic actor, in my opinion. We all have problems. We all have things that we're going through. To what extent those problems are, sometimes we just don't know. But let's say that he was saying, or he said, to me, well, I'm having this issue. I feel like maybe I'm overusing my medication, or I'm medicating my feelings some other way, or I'm doing this, or I'm having issues with Michelle. And then I guess what his.
Yeah, that was his. Yeah.
Yeah, let's talk about it. What's going on? What exactly? What do you mean? Tell me more. Tell me. What do you want to start?
Yeah. That's actually a really good point, because that was very sad. I mean, he had like kids. I think, I don't know how many. He was married. He was like, people really loved him and loved the work that he did. And yeah, he was trying to like medicate or trying to feel better in some way, and that was really unfortunate. So yeah,
not around, but I think I would pick him.
Right, but to your earlier point about people drinking, maybe using more drugs or alcohol, especially now, because there is like a kind of facing of your feelings and facing relationship issues or what or dealing with what it's like to be unemployed, and if a lot of our identity is intertwined with our work, and so that is oftentimes can make people feel so helpless and hopeless, and and just wanting to feel better, and like using alcohol and drugs definitely is a way to do that.
Goes to like a sense of purpose, like what's my purpose in life? What is it that I want to do? What is it? And I think a lot of times we don't sit for a moment or two to really think about that, because we're so programmed to just, perhaps we think that what we're doing is the purpose, and maybe it is and maybe it isn't, because let's say now that purpose, let's say, has been taken away. You're furloughed. You're not working anymore. or you can't because a lot of the businesses that you relied on are also closed or out of business. So then people either get stuck and say, well, that's it. My purpose in life is done.
Mm-hmm.
God, there's so much more to that, to you, than just that. That doesn't define you. That doesn't make you. You're not that. You're more. You just have to, explore and figure out and, dig deeper.
Mm-hmm.
Or it's like, you know what? Okay, I'm not working anymore, but now this gives me an opportunity to, maybe start writing some poems or do more drawings or write my book or learn how to do this or that or something, obviously indoors for now, but let's assume that we all get out of this and we can go about our other. I can even say go back to the way it was, because we cannot go back to what it was. That's like
No.
a
Not.
relationship and now I broke up and I go back to it. It's going to be the same shit again. So, we can't do that. So yeah, so I think also like a sense of purpose, like, like maybe I want to volunteer. I've been hearing that too. It's like, I'm doing this work, but yeah, I do it, but I feel like I need to do more. Like I need to give back somehow. I need to do other stuff. Oh, great. Explore that. See what it is. There's hundreds of opportunities on how you can go about doing that, so I think that's what's also coming up. And also on the environmental aspect, going back again quickly about the shift. I mean, our
Mm-hmm.
environment, it's the air is probably the cleanest it's ever been in decades.
Right.
Water, the pollution, but my fear and my concern, not so much a fear, but my concern is that we're going to go back to what it was, polluting it and dumping it and the air quality and all that. It's like something has to change. We all have to change. We all have to, this is shifting us, whether we like it or not. It's like, oh, wait, nope. There you go.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I think that there's so many things that we can look at and look to shift. And just to go back to that worth, just be, this is a good time to work on relationships. So, if you're not employed, I know it's really hard for people to not feel valued, or to feel valued if they're unemployed or furloughed or whatever. But, you have, and people don't really recognize this, is you impact other people's lives in a very profound way. And all those relationships that you have with people are important. And, maybe using some of that time that you would have used working to work on those relationships, to make them more authentic, to spend time with like people if you can, right? Maybe Zoom or, as opposed to, feeling like, oh my God, I'm not working, so I'm not going to be worthy. I mean, of course, also there's the financial aspect which, I know is very difficult for a lot of people, and I don't want to minimize that, but
None whatsoever.
we're we don't value people for just being a person and being in our lives. I mean, it's kind of crazy.
I've had people contact me recently, I mean, over the last month or so, and I
Mm-hmm.
Victoria, there was one, I had no idea who this person was. Like, wait, hold on, when? Who? Wait, who are you? And then it's like, oh my God, they know me, but I don't know them.
Well, right, because obviously for them, you were significant to them, but you didn't even know that.
Later.
Omar, come on. You know what? It's. I mean, it goes back to, we don't know how much we impact other people. I think that like the more we take care of ourselves and make sure that we're doing well and taking care of ourselves, self-care and all of that, the more that people will want to be like around us and like us, and will also want to connect with us. And I think that you have that in many ways. Well, listen, you know what? I think that honestly, because of who you are and your personality and how much like fun and exciting, because you are exciting, are that like people really do like you. Yeah. And you probably don't even recognize that people are thinking about you. And not that, I think that this could be for anybody,
Yeah.
We impact people's lives in ways that we don't even really know. And because they might be struggling with their own attachment issues or their own things going on, we think maybe, okay, well, it was something about me or whatever. But really that the person, for whatever reason, is in some sort of space and not quite ready to be able to engage in the kind of relationship that you would want them to engage in. But I mean, I think it's, you know, if somebody says that they miss you, Omar, they miss you.
Okay.
I know I miss you. I miss you
I
so
would
much.
never question that, Victoria. If you said it, then there's no reason why I would question that. But certain things, like I've come to a period in my life where, you know, I can't take things at face value, obviously, and I want to inquire. I want to be straight up and figure it out. If that's what, then great. I appreciate that. Whether I feel the same way, that's a whole different thing. But if you feel that towards me, you know, thank you. I appreciate that.
You know, it reminds me of this. I'm reading this book called The Art of Possibility, and there's a story in it. And there's this guy, he sees this woman on the beach, and she's like throwing starfish in the ocean, and apparently, and there's just like tons of starfishes or starfish, fishes, starfish, like, you know, and if they don't get into the ocean, then they will probably die, right? And so he goes up to her and he's like, well, why are you doing it? It's futile. Like, why are you, like, you know, throwing the starfish into the water? You're never going to get like everybody, you know, all of them in the water. You're not going to save them all. And she's like, well, no, but it matters to this one. And then just keeps on throwing the ones that she can throw in. And I think that that's a really great way of like recognizing that not only, you know, we all have that value in people's lives, and we all have a worth of being just a human being. And how do you kind of make, you know, how do you contribute in a way where you're making connections with people? And sometimes I think people forget that because there's so many things and feelings. And to go back to Drake, right? Like, you know, he wants to have love, but there's something that's a barrier for him. And I think, you know, if he was in treatment with me, we'd be able to work on that kind of stuff, because, you know, I can see that there's lots of, you know, and it's that's not no countertransference, by the way.
Yeah.
One last thing, and then actually we have to go because I have a class. So I recognize that I've been watching a lot of Netflix. So I was like, all right, I got to take a class. So I'm taking a class after this. Yeah. We'll talk about what it is next time. What's your one self-care practice that you do that you think other people should do?
Essential oils.
You're gonna say
no, it's surreal. Like, you know, I'm morning, afternoon, evening, I'm always diffusing. And it depends, and it helps, you know, especially depending on what the weather's like. Because I mean, we had snow for a moment, for crying out loud, yesterday in May. So, you know, the weather is constantly changing. So especially when it's like dark and cloudy and gloomy and maybe even cold, you know, it really affects your mood. So I'm always diffusing something that's going to uplift me, is going to keep me, you know, on point. You know, if I'm here working, you know, I have something to do, or work-wise, billing, or I don't know, then I have that going on for myself. You know, in the evening, just before, you know, going to bed, put something that's going to help me relax, or breathe better, or just, you know, have some wild dreams. And that's what I do. So
yeah, nice. So how can people find you?
They can look me up on my Instagram. I have it here in my name, Omar Zurita.
Yeah, oh, I do. Yeah.
Yeah, so if you want to check me out there, Omar Zurita _wellness Instagram, and send me a message.
All right, sounds good. Thank you so much, Omar.
You have to get off now. This is your stop.
This is my stop out on the one train.
Oh, okay.
Times Square.
I'll make a connection to the 7 line here then.
You take the 7 line so you can get to Queens. Well, it was a wonderful train ride. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And I hope you have a great day and or rest of the day. And then we'll definitely chat later.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.